Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're tracing the wild, completely fascinating, and sometimes really turbulent evolution of the world's most popular sporting event. Football is an absolute global obsession today, but the massive spectacle we're all so used to, it didn't even exist a century ago. We're going to look at the awe-inspiring highs, the legends who broke all the records, and, importantly, some of the incredibly dark, heavy realities that emerge when the passion for this beautiful game goes just a bit too far. So let's dive right in and test your knowledge out of the gate. Before the billion-dollar stadiums and endless TV coverage, do you know who actually took home the very first championship? Keep in mind, this initial tournament looked totally different from the mega event we know today. The answer is Uruguay. They hosted and won the whole thing back in 1930, beating Argentina 4-2. But here's the wild part. There were only 13 teams playing. Even though FIFA invited all its member nations with 0 qualification rounds required, a ton of countries just said no. Why? Well, you had the global economic depression, a general lack of interest, and honestly, the absolutely massive, daunting travel distances required to actually get to Uruguay back then. Oh, and fun fact, despite the tiny turnout, the US men's team had a highly successful run and actually made it all the way to the semifinals.
To see how this built up over time, we have to look back to 1900, when football was just a side event at the Olympic Games. But when the sport was completely dropped from the 1932 Olympics in the US, FIFA decided to step in and launch a quadrennial tournament just for football. After that 1930 debut, it happened every 4 years, with one massive exception. World War II forced a pause in 1942 and 1946. But when it finally resumed in 1950, it gained incredible momentum. And by 1954, television broadcasts began, which literally changed the game, projecting the sport to a massive global audience.
Section 2. Legends of the Pitch. The Rise of Global Superstars. You see, those early TV broadcasts completely transformed exceptional local players into legitimate global icons. And the number you really need to remember here is 17. That was the age of a young Brazilian kid named Edson Arantes do Nascimento, who the whole world would soon know simply as Pelé. At just 17 years old, he stepped onto the pitch in the 1958 tournament and scored the winning goal against Wales in the quarterfinals. Honestly, Pelé's godlike impact on the sport just can't be overstated. By netting that goal, he became the youngest scorer at a World Cup. But beyond the stats, he literally showcased football as an art form on the world stage. It wasn't just a flash in the pan either. He was instrumental in helping Brazil secure their first ever championship and eventually led them to a record 5 titles. He absolutely set the benchmark for greatness. Fast forward a few decades, and that legacy of greatness is captured by another massive number, 16. That record belongs to former German player Miroslav Klose, who currently holds the all-time record for the absolute most goals ever scored in FIFA World Cup history. And Klose didn't just have one lucky run. His sheer consistency was staggering, playing for Germany across 4 different tournaments. Look at this breakdown. 5 goals in 2002, another 5 in 2006, 4 in 2010, and 2 final goals in 2014. It completely underscores the immense triumphant heights and the crazy career longevity a player can reach when they are performing at their absolute peak on the world's biggest stage. Section 3. Politics and the Hand. When the beautiful game gets complicated. Now, when the intense passion for these matches inevitably collides with heavy global politics, you get some of the most controversial moments in sports history. Take the 1986 quarterfinal match between Argentina and England. That game didn't happen in a vacuum. It took place firmly in the dark geopolitical shadow of the 1982 Falklands War, a conflict fought directly between those very same 2 nations just 4 years earlier. So the pressure, the national pride on the line, it was practically immeasurable. Amidst all that intense tension, Argentine star Diego Maradona, widely considered one of the greatest players ever, made a move that left the world totally stunned. During the match, Maradona scored the first goal by literally punching the ball into the net. Just straight up punched it past a completely oblivious referee. When he was pressed about this blatant rule violation later, he gave this deeply infamous quote, casually admitting the goal was scored, quote, "a little with the head of Maradona, a little with the hands of God." And you know, this perfectly captures the baffling duality of the sport and of Maradona himself. Because mere moments after that shameless display of cheating with the hand of God, Maradona took the ball and scored another goal that was so absolutely spectacular, it was later voted the goal of the century in a FIFA poll. Argentina went on to win the title that year, cementing a legacy built on this crazy mix of fierce controversy and unparalleled brilliance. Section 4. Lost Tempers. The Darker Side Emerges. Okay, let's shift gears and look at the truly darker moments of the tournament's history, where the insane pressure cooker of the world stage causes the adoration to just crack. Zinedine Zidane is a stark example of this. On one hand, he is unequivocally one of France's all-time greatest legends. But on the other hand, his career ended with a shocking explosion of violence, retiring in 2006 with a devastating red card during the World Cup final between Italy and France.
The way things unraveled was shockingly fast. Italian player Marco Materazzi reportedly provoked Zidane by hurling insults at him on the pitch, and instead of walking away, Zidane completely lost his temper. He violently headbutted Materazzi right in the chest, resulting in an immediate red card. With their legendary player ejected, France faltered, and Italy ultimately won the game on penalties. It just goes to show that even the most celebrated, seemingly untouchable legends have deeply flawed, human breaking points when they are under that intense global spotlight.
Section 5. The Tragedy of Andrés Escobar. Deadly Real-World Consequences.
This brings us to the most sobering point of our explainer today, the moment where the incredibly high stakes of this tournament escalated into lethal real-world violence. Back in the 1994 tournament, Colombian footballer Andrés Escobar made a simple, unlucky mistake and accidentally scored an own goal against his team, giving the U.S. a 2-1 victory. The media scrutiny following this error was immediate and it was vicious. In a sport that is practically treated as a religion, the global press and furious fans created an incredibly toxic pressure cooker environment, taking a terrible athletic blunder and slowly transforming it into a grim, fatal reality for Escobar.
Returning home to Colombia literally cost Escobar his life. Just days after the match, he was shot dead in what is widely believed to be a brutal drug cartel hit, a direct, deadly retaliation for his on-pitch mistake. The personal devastation for his family, his friends, and his teammates was unimaginable, but the shockwaves went completely global. International media covered the tragedy around the clock, and the whole world watched in absolute horror as huge, heartbroken crowds flooded the streets in mourning for his funeral. Escobar's murder left a permanent, sickening scar on the sport. It's a dark reminder of the fatal consequences of fanaticism, and his tragic death is a loss that is still marked and mourned during matches today.
So, as we look back at the timeline we've covered today, from the awe-inspiring brilliance of teenagers like Pelé and the sheer endurance of Klose, to the shocking meltdowns and the terrifying, deadly tragedy of Andrés Escobar, we're left with a really difficult question. At what point does our global obsession with this beautiful game exact a human cost that is simply too high? It's definitely something to think about the next time you watch a team step onto the pitch.